This video is about an incident that's been in the local news media, as well as the Department of Justice's Phoenix report. We're going to discuss an officer-involved shooting that resulted in the death of James Garcia. The goal is to restore context that's been missing from other reporting. On July 4th, 2020, at 12:52 in the afternoon, Phoenix police officers were sent to the area of 5600 West Glen Rosa Avenue for a 911 call. The caller said that he had been stabbed a month prior and spent several days in the hospital as a result.
And what is the emergency occurring?
Yeah, that last week somebody hit me with a knife, and I'm going to the hospital for a couple of days.
The caller then said that the suspect had returned to the area armed with a knife and was threatening to harm him.
And the police looking for the guy is right here and trying to do the same thing again.
He has a knife?
Yeah, he's trying to kill me again.
The caller directed officers to a specific house and told them that the man, who is now suspected of aggravated assault with a knife, was there. The caller also told them another person there had a gun. As officers approached the house, they noted that one of the vehicles in the driveway had someone inside. The officers made contact with a man who was in the driver's seat. His physical description matched the information from the caller. During several minutes of conversation, the officers explained their purpose for being there. They asked for the man's identification, which they were allowed to do under Arizona law. The man provided false information to the officers, which was a violation of both ARS 13-2412 and 13-2907.01, both misdemeanor crimes. Officers used the patrol vehicle to block the suspect's vehicle into the driveway so that the suspect could not easily drive off. The officers asked the man to get out of the vehicle, but instead, he rolled up his window and armed himself with a handgun.
We got called out here because somebody was stabbed. So now this is a scene, I can't let stuff leave the scene, and I need to get everybody out of my scene. Right now, you're the only person that's still in my crime scene. You understand that? What's that? Well, there's going to be, everybody in there is going to be getting out too. That's what we're trying to do right now, is get everybody removed from the scene.
Is he getting out, or does he just say F you?
I'm pretty sure he's just saying F you.
I can't see his hands. He's got a gun. Hey, put that get your hand off the gun.
On pages 17 and 18 of their report, the DOJ criticized Phoenix officers for not backing off and taking cover. This shows the DOJ's apparent lack of experience with law enforcement, as they seem to confuse containing a vehicle with containing a suspect. The suspect might not have been able to easily drive away, but he could easily open his door and run into the neighborhood or a nearby house, which would further endanger members of the public and officers. These officers put their bodies between the armed suspect and the public. One officer broke the tinted passenger side window in order to get a better view of the armed suspect. That way, he'd be able to see if the suspect raised his weapon towards officers or towards the multiple members of the public who are outside in the area, including the original victim who called the police. The suspect raised his handgun and other officers fired, striking the suspect. The DOJ's findings conclude that the tactics of the officers caused the shooting, ignoring the conduct of the suspect and the risk that he posed to the community. It's important to remember that this claim that officers' tactics can serve as the basis for finding an otherwise justified use of force unconstitutional has already been addressed by the U.S. Supreme Court. In County of Los Angeles versus Mendez, the U.S. Supreme Court held that provocation, or an officer's conduct leading up to an otherwise reasonable use of force, is not a constitutional issue and cannot be a Fourth Amendment violation, which means this cannot be the basis for a pattern or practice of unconstitutional policing. When the suspect's handgun was taken from the vehicle, it was found to be a functional Glock 44 with 9 rounds, including one in the chamber. Officers pulled the suspect out of the car so that the fire department could render aid. Later, it was found that the suspect was on probation and had a warrant for his arrest, which might be what caused him to lie to officers and not comply. A witness also said they saw him use narcotics earlier in the day. Fentanyl pills and related paraphernalia were found in the vehicle, and the autopsy report found that he had fentanyl in his system. Some people tried to create the false narrative that the male was sleeping and unarmed, which led to protests. On July 6, 2020, Phoenix PD released portions of the body-worn camera video. On July 7, 2020, Phoenix PD asked the FBI to investigate in the interest of transparency and accountability. On March 8, 2023, the U.S. Department of Justice, yes, the same DOJ, issued a letter clearing Phoenix PD and the officers involved of any wrongdoing. This case is the subject of litigation. District Court Judge Liberti declined to take judicial notice of the DOJ's findings report, which means that the DOJ's opinions in the findings report related to this case cannot be accepted at face value.